And we're back for another exciting episode of Cyberpunk Solo Play. Yeah! A little bit of house cleaning up top. As I'm playing this, I'm learning this. We're playing Cyberpunk Red, these rules, and we're supplementing them with the single player mode. So this abstracts a little bit of that. The last time I did this was my technical first. I've had many conversations with other folks online about the rules and rulings and how to do things, and even deep conversations about rules as written, and that's kind of how I like to play. A shout out to Alchemic Raker for many of the conversations. If, as I'm playing this, you notice something that's either not working quite right or I'm not doing something correct, toss it in the comments. I'm doing this organically in that I'm not preparing too many ahead of time, and I'm engaging with the material and with the people engaging with the material and all that stuff. One of the things that came up in the conversation was just the nature of the Oracle and the usage of that as a prescriptive versus a kind of a reactive. And so that some of these things that we came up with here in our story were a little bit less organized, a little bit less structured than I might have liked. I used the Oracle to kind of guide me, tell me what to do instead of doing a thing and using the Oracle in response. And we're going to keep the story as is, but we kind of left things, what ended up happening is we left things in a little bit of a goofy area. So let's jump to the story. When last we did this, Driver, Obsidian, Hound, and Final were looking for a job. And Obsidian mentioned that he knew a guy. He knew a fixer that he works for. That fixer was named Willie Mays. And they went to him, and he gave them a job. And it was going to be a simple job, a 500 EB Eurobuck job, as an infiltration to a security firm named Kimen Gumi. And they were to infiltrate a particular location in Japantown, Old Japantown. The idea was that they were going to infiltrate this thing and go in and get some information on a top-level security member, biometric data, I believe it was. And great. Driver suggested that they needed to go at night. I'm kind of giving Driver, our main character, a little bit more seniority, a little bit more experience. They're kind of leading this group, this ragtag group. And Driver does have the most drive of this story. And he suggested that they go at night, somewhere between like 4 and 5 a.m., that dead hour of night, to do the job. That's going to be when the guard is most lax. But others suggested, Hound, Obsidian, and Final came up with kind of an idea to case the joint. And Hound offered to do that. So Hound did. When they got to the location, they found that it was a building kind of back behind another building, sort of a tucked away thing. This particular branch of Kimen Gumi's security detail, not a very big place. And so they go there to case it out. Everyone else takes a station, and Hound begins her due diligence of scoping the place out. The guard does notice, and at the end of the series of checks we did, he called out some of his other guards within the building who may have been on break, and we got into a combat scuffle. And that's where we ended things, is at the result of the combat, our party killed everyone. The 4 guards that came out, they killed them. Driver, Final, and the Hound. They were planning on just knocking them out. But Obsidian was like, blam, blam, blam. And the other guards were like, blam, blam. Like, so a few different people were crossways in what they were trying to do. And the Hound got shot. She was the only one that ended up getting the brunt of the bang bang, and took about almost half. Almost became a serious wound. And I did mention at the very end of that they were starting to run away. That's the idea, that some of them want to. And we're going to pick up here. At the end of last time and the beginning of this scene, we have a beat that we're going to deal with right now. And this is a kind of the what next sort of deal. And in this particular situation, we need to come up with something to do. We need to come up with our plan and how to approach it, because 4 guards have been killed. And if this isn't that big of a building, that could be the entire guard thing. But we also have an injured person who needs to be stabilized. I think in this particular beat, this first beat that we have for today, we're going to call the time for this at 1:30 p.m. That may go a little bit against what we did last time. But again, last time we did this, I was a little unclear on time and strict timekeeping, which is a thing I've talked about liking and being into, and that feels a bit hypocritical. But the problem is I didn't exactly remember what timekeeping, like what the rules for time were in this. But in these rules, you have one beat equals a half hour of time. And for me, that's perfect. We can work with that. So at 1:30, for this next half hour, we have to deal with the problem at hand. And as I see it, there are 3 potential checks. In single player mode, I gotta call it by its actual book. In single player mode, they have a couple different kinds of scenes, if you will. There's an investigative scene and a social scene in combat. And as I've been reading through the rules, I've kind of come to understand that investigation scene, as it's written for a single player mode, covers everything that isn't a social scene. As I see it, there are 3 different checks that need to happen, and these would fall for me under investigation. Now, in this half hour, we have these 3 checks. In some ways, with three people in active duty here in this scene, we have assess location, stabilize wounded, deal with bodies. I think it's simple, but that may be wrong. We're gonna try it and figure it out, because at the end of the fight, the bodies hit the floor, and Hound falls to her knees, and Driver is immediately assigning himself to deal with stabilizing her, and we need to determine if he can do that. So there are 4 healing skills in Cyberpunk Red: Cyber Tech, First Aid, Paramedic, and Surgery. Those are the skills to use. So ideally, you want someone who has points in them. Driver is pretty protective of his folk. Whether or not that's, there's probably something here, because he's not big on people, but he values love. And so he's going to attempt to use First Aid on Hound to basically stabilize her. Now, in the rules, whenever there's normal wounding of any kind, if you stabilize it, the character can begin healing as long as they are not active. So every day they spend just resting after being stabilized, that means then they'll gain the hit points back of I believe it's their body stat. Here's what's going on with Hound's body. She has 28 hit points out of 40, so just 8 shy of being seriously wounded. So she got the brunt of some bullets. So he's going to attempt First Aid on her. That's going to be the first action we'll do here, which is to stabilize the wounded. He's going to stabilize Hound, as he says to Final and Obsidian. Final needs to assess the location. He goes, Final, you gotta go assess the location. And she's like, ugh, yeah, sure. Obsidian, since you went gun crazy and you caused a mess, you're gonna deal with the bodies. We're gonna just do that. That'll be the assignment for this beat. Now, I think it's worth mentioning that there was a bunch of activity here. Essentially, a security place was attacked. And in this particular neighborhood, Old Japantown, I wouldn't assume that, even though the place is tucked away, that gunfire localized around a security firm building wouldn't draw attention. So to give us a sense of stress and time, we need to add ourselves a solo play clock. And now in single player mode, the clock is a timer for a complication, in that either, you might have, like, if a bomb's going to go off, you assign it a pool of 6-sided dice, and when a trigger is hit, then you roll that pool, and on ones you take away the dice as a sort of a countdown. Reinforcements arrive. The corporate heist is a good example, and we're going to use that. As much as I would want to really pump in the short-term suspense, I do think that's a little bit unfair on my part. So we're going to go to kind of this corporate heist one, this 5d6 beat length. Roll the dice after every action. Okay, so after every action we roll, and on ones we have problems. So let's get to it. We need to heal Hound. She is not too happy at being shot. And really, who would be? So let's roll our first check of the thing. We've got 5. We rolled a 5, and 5 plus 9 is 14. So we rolled a 14 for stabilization. Now, thankfully, the stabilization DC is 10, DV of 10. And so driver deftly stabilizes her during this. After that action, we need to roll our D6s. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, we're going to use everyone's D6s and the enemy D6. We're going to kind of roll our clock timer here. While they're doing that, Final is going to go assess the situation in the security room. So there was one guard outside who harassed Hound, and then he summoned 3 other guards. We don't know anything else, so we're going to go take a look and see if there's anything in there. Final has a good combat awareness, situational awareness. She is a solo, after all. We're going to attempt to stealthily sneak the door open, check things. We have a plus 10 to that stealth. Let's have our solo do that. Nice. She rolled a 10. So that's 20. Great. As driver is working to stabilize Hound, and Obsidian is making his way to the bodies and starting to drag them around, Final scoots over to the door and looks around. There's a camera at the door. She clocks that. And we're going to... that's going to be a problem. I think she's going to shoot at that. Let us make a handgun attack. 19. She'll make a wild shot, and because it's not a very difficult attempt, she blows out the camera. This is complicated because she would naturally shoot things, and she did well in the stealth. So I imagine she waits a moment, and there's maybe some noise, some shouting, some further distant gunshots, or she muffles it however she can and makes the shot and takes out the camera. Doesn't prevent the camera from having seen something. So if someone is paying attention, or we'll check the recordings later, this could be a problem. But that's a complication we'll have to deal with later. She checks the building. Goes in, pops in, looks in, does her best stealth, kind of grabs a reflective shard of some mirror or some piece of reflective surface and looks in, does a few different tricks with the time that she's given to look in there. So I don't know what is in there necessarily. So this is going to be our inquiry to the Oracle, how likely it is that someone is going to be inside. And we're going to give it to a chance of unlikely, I think. I think this may be a not that well attended one, given the job difficulties and all that. That is a safe assumption we can make. And we have a different range of things. So let's roll a D100. Now it is solo. She is the one checking. It is Final is checking it out. And it dawns on me that I've got a black with purple text, but you know what? Whatever. I can't tell the color with my aging eyes. 6, meaning there's no one in there. I know that's not an interesting answer. One of the things that solo play or single player mode asks you to do is try to go for yes for things. Now, that doesn't mean that we're free of problems. Remember, we have the solo play clock. And making this worse is the fact that we have a camera that has seen her. We are going to roll 2 checks on the solo play clock for this, I think. Because I think her carelessness as a solo should be punished. But we're still lucky in this first roll. Nothing, no reinforcements. Oops. We're not any closer to reinforcements, so that's good. Roll again. Close, but cigar. So we're doing all right. The dice are working to our favor. Last, we need Obsidian to take care of the bodies. We're gonna use Conceal to hide things. His Conceal thing. He's gonna do his best. Obsidian was assigned this in a sort of delegating move by Driver, and he's like, "But I'm a Netrunner, man." And Driver's just like, "Oh," that Harrison Ford in Empire Strikes Back, just that look at C-3PO's face with the finger pointing. That's what he did. And Obsidian's like, "Okay, man, okay, Choom, we're gonna do this." And so he goes and starts to drag the bodies and find different trash bins and different places around. He's never done this before, right? This isn't going to pass muster if you've got someone really looking. But a 9 in terms of conceal and reveal skill, is decent enough. So we're going to do that. Obsidian, I rolled the wrong dice. You'll have to forgive me. Obsidian is the one with the black dice, and Final is the one with the white dice. Can you forgive me? Well, thanks for nothing then. So, Obsidian, what's he do for conceal reveal? He rolled a 6, which on his conceal reveal 6 plus 9, 15. I should have set the difficulty first. This is a little sloppy on my part, so forgive me here. But I do think it would be a difficult task, and he just makes it, which seems about right. Keeping in mind, he rolled the exact difficulty on this. To me, that's not that impressive. He just does it. So he gets the bodies over there. And because of just the bong, bong, and the garbage bins, the noise, and the sloppy nature of taking care of the bodies, I think we should roll 2 more times on our complication, our what do you will, the timer. I just think that's, we have to punish that in a little, in small ways. We roll again. Guys, this is fascinating. I wish my luck as a player and other people's tables could hold as well as it has here. Guys, at the end of this beat, we know that there's no one inside and that the bodies have been hid and Hound has been stabilized. This is a very good position to be in. So our mission here in this next beat, we have a couple things that I think we need to do. I think our characters are going to need to get inside, hack the system, and get out. Pretty basic, but are these 3 things going to need 3 checks or more? So let's work it through. At the outside, before we move to this new beat, Driver has stabilized Hound and brings her to the door where Final is sitting, or crouched down. Obsidian finally joins them. Driver asks, "What's the situation?" Final goes, "The place is empty, boss, and we should just go in there." And Driver is hesitant. Driver is a cautious person, I think. Compared to the rest of these, Final is not. Probably a reason for their schism is that she just goes for it. Leroy Jenkins things. And he's just like, no, we need to think and plan. In fact, it was even Driver's idea to scout the place first and then come later. See, he needs to learn a few things in Night City to do well at it. So Final makes her case. The place is clear. We can get in real fast. If Obsidian is as good as he says, we can hack the thing and go. And Driver's like, fine, let's do it. But Final does say, yeah, the camera saw me. And he's like, gosh darn it, all to heck. But he says it in a much more vulgar way. What were you thinking? And she just shrugs. So Final's going to go in, keep the gun drawn, ready to go. And Obsidian is going to come in. And I think he's going to do the conceal reveal. He's going to try to reveal, see if there's any traps. Because of how many things I want us to do in here, we're going to give this a 5 check situation. That's just my guess. I'm going to shoot for that. And we'll see kind of how the scene plays out despite these 3 things. We have get inside, hack the system, and get out. So 2 things that Obsidian is going to do. He is going to go in with conceal and reveal to see if there's any traps. And he's going to do a scanner. He's going to try and find an interface port to clock it in. Let's play these out first, and then we'll see kind of what we have. Because time is not on our side, but we do have, unfortunately, 3 separate rolls to do. Nothing. Okay, our first countdown has begun. Let's go here. All right. So that's 4 left. So we've done 2 rolls. Oh, crap. Was that 2 of them? Edit point! All right. I couldn't see one of the dice. And there were 2 ones. Our timer just shortened considerably. Now, last roll. Okay, we're good. We have now 3 potential failures before reinforcements arrive, because we've been seen and all that. So we've done those 3 things, or at least we've accounted for those 3 things in terms of the timer. He's going to now reveal traps and scan for interface. We're doing these a little out of order. Again, some sloppy tabletop etiquette, but I apologize once more. Seal reveal. 18. I think it's professional difficulty, which is 17. And he clocks a few different tripwires for things, and that those tripwires lead to some mines, and he points them out. Next is his scan ability. Now to scan for an access point. He rolled a 7, plus his interface of 4 is 11. Something's obscuring it. We've got a problem here, because this was hidden, and his interface ability wasn't good enough. I think, unfortunately for us, it is professional. Not professional. I'd probably put it difficult. So a 15 DV, but 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, generally speaking, you can't just do a thing over and over again. Now, I wrote that wrong on my paper. So I said driver is going to search physically for access point with assistance from Obsidian. We need to swap that. Obsidian is going to search. So out of our 1, 2, 3, 4, this is our 4th action for this beat. He's going to search. And he's like, driver, my man, I need help finding this thing. They've probably hidden it under some sort of thing. So we're going to go searching. So Obsidian is going to do a conceal reveal with assistance from driver. And so we need to figure out what that is going to entail. So in the rules, there's complementary skills. And so we can have, as driver is going to use it, he's going to use a skill in a complementary way to give Obsidian a +1 to his roll. Actually, it's a little off the beaten path, but tracking. Tracking, a skill of following a trail by observing tracks and other clues left behind. We're going to do, we're going to have driver use his tracking skill. So his tracking roll of, he's got a +13 to his. He is going to, and remember, we have described this as difficult. So 5, he rolled a 5 +13, that's 18. So I think that's all right. I think that's going to work. So he's going to help Obsidian track. So he just gave Obsidian a +1 in his search. Now Obsidian is going to, if you don't mind me shuffling the character sheets, he is going to conceal reveal, which isn't that great. It's a 9. So Obsidian, let's do our conceal reveal. Dice on our side. He rolled a 10, so that's a 19. My God. Okay, great. They're gonna find this thing. They're gonna find the interface, and but we also have to still roll ourselves another ding on the timer. We have another one. The timer marches forward. Not good. So we got 4 actions. Now the last thing we have is they found it. Driver is using his ability to track things, and he's thinking, okay, human patterns. That's great. Where would they go? What would be a likely way to hide things? And what would be a methodology for that? So he's getting a little beautiful mind on this. And he's checking different corners, checking footprints and tracking that as if he might be tracking a person. He's seeing a pattern of wear and tear in the floor, weirdly enough. This security building, since it has been fitted and refitted many times over the years, there is a thin, like old school thin hotel carpet. That sort of thing that is just the barest of material. It's just a covering for the floor, so it's not, you don't see the concrete or whatever the base is. There's not even padding. It is just of a sickly earthen color and very thin. You could almost mistake it, without your glasses. Without my glasses, you could almost mistake it for like a sort of gravel or a dirt floor. But it is worn, and you can see kind of a path in various different directions of like the actual ground underneath as the carpet has worn away and frayed in little parts. Subtle. And if you're Hound or Final, you don't give a toot about this, right? But Driver does. And so he notices that. And he notices that the ground is particularly worn away in a certain area that just seems to be old, busted computers. We have a junk corner. We're going to put a lot of obstructing things in there to prevent sort of an immediate scan from the Netrunner, perhaps. And yeah, he clears it away with his might, and Obsidian's like, oh yeah, no, there we go. That's a good tactic. He's a little sheepish because like he feels a bit silly for needing help from a nomad of all things, right? So now he has to plug in. He's going to jack in. His interface ability is 4. So he has 3 net actions. And we're going to see how this plays out. For our last thing, is Obsidian jacks in and does the thing. All right, let's see how that works. We're going to be using the quick and dirty net running set a goal. We want biometric data for the top level security member of Kimen Gumi, to give to Willie Mays. So let's do it. We're going to determine the size of floors. It's 3 to 6. I think it's going to be 3. What programs does Obsidian have? Let's just kind of get a sense of our scene here in the net space as Obsidian dons his virtuality goggles, which we do have, yep. He dons his virtuality goggles, he jacks into the system, and his vision changes and becomes geometric, glowy shapes into the darkness of the local web of this building. And he has got 3 particular programs at his disposal. And I am going to do what I like to do and use physical things. We're going to play around with our net running cards. I'm generally not a huge proponent of product, too much product. And there's a lot of product here, which is kind of rich because it's Cyberpunk. Ugh. Still, having physical things is very nice, and it helps envision what to do. We have 2 copies of sword. We have armor, and we have Sia. So those are the things at our disposal here. For sword, you does a 3d6 res to a black ice program or a 2d6 res to a non-black ice program. So we gotta keep that in mind. Armor, we have lowers all brain damage you would receive by 4 as long as this program remains rezzed. Only 1 copy of this program can be running at a time. Each copy of this program can only be used once per net run. Okay. And then Sia increases all Pathfinder checks you make by 2 as long as this program remains rezzed. So we have these 3 programs. Now, so let's look at the next thing on our single player mode. And if you notice, I'm doing this in such a way that I'm triggering kind of all the basic pieces of single player mode to actually learn them as we play, because I want to play these things. Now we've determined the size, 3. It has 3 floors, that's 3 checks. So we have 3 skill checks that we can do as a part of this one action that Obsidian can make within the net. In time, I'm going to be a little bit more adept at coming up with better net running things. Again, this is why I want to do this, is to kind of get myself a little bit more acclimated to the idea. We're going to go with a similar example as the one provided here, which I know is a little bit of a cop-out, but again, this is just to help me figure things out. DV6 password, an ASP, and then the file, which requires a DV8. Check 1 is a DV6 password. We use our interface ability. There's a 1. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Failure in the net space looks like what? It's a little bit different than a meat space failure. You can keep trying, I think. So we're going to keep trying, but that is going to use one of our 3 actions. So we're going to lose time on this. All right, let's try again. 10, 14, better. We have a success there. But now the next check is a, which I believe is the ASP in this example. They've used an ASP. This particular redundancy is pretty basic. Nice. As Netrunner, he's just like hacky. He's going in, and he sees a black ice appear on this next level. After he beats the first level with the password, he goes down another level. Think of this as an elevator, if you will. The first floor was the password, and he backdoors that thing and does it with aplomb. By which I mean he takes forever to do it. He's not that good of a Netrunner, guys. He pops down. Oh no, black ice. In the example, he slides by it, but my guy, I think he needs to attack this thing. It needs to happen. The violence needs to happen. He's been itching to show his worth. Encountering black ice. When you encounter enemy black ice lying in wait, you roll your interface plus any speed bonus you have active. We don't. Versus the black ice's speed. So that's 8 for his speed. And my guy has I don't have any speed bonuses. That'd be nice. That'd be nice to look into. 2. So he has a speed of 6, so that's 8. 2 have a speed of 4, so that's 6. Oh no! Our asp beats us in this. And destroys a single enemy Netrunner a single program. Destroys a program completely. And that's placed at the top. One number above the entity which previously on each of its turns it'll attack the Netrunner. So my assumption is that we'll just go take turns after that, because it'll pop back up. Guys, I'm going to just move forward with it being an initiative thing, and if I've read that wrong, we will fix it for the next time. But I think that's what I'm reading. That text is a little bit unclear, a little fuzzy. One of the areas in which, again, why I wanted to do this. So in the Black Ice attack, it destroys one of our programs. We have a few programs at our disposal here. We have Armor Sword, See a Sword, Worm. I did not grab the Worm one, did I? Worm, right here. Here we go. Worm. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we have enough to have these running if the 7 slots are a thing. But one of these is destroyed. So I think we'll make that a D6 to decide what gets destroyed. But, oh, 4. 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. One of our swords is defeated. So we lose one of the swords. But now it is our turn. And we're going to use the other sword that we're given. Let's see what it says. Does 3d6 res to a Black Ice program. Alright, 3d6. Let's do this. 3d6 res against a Black Ice. 5. 6 is 11. 12. 12 against the asp, which brings that down to 3. And then it's going to... Obsidian could have slid past. Let's just put that out there. He could have done that, but he doesn't. This guy is hubristic as F. I'm assuming, because now we're at the top of the initiative again, the asp is going to destroy another program. We now have 5 programs that this thing can destroy. I'm going to let you guys see my impressive dice collection as I do this. Ah, here we go. Cyberpunk, man. Cyberpunk. Sword is destroyed. We lose our sword. That's just great. But at the very minimum, we have Zap as an action. Kind of like a basic attack. Zap allows you to make an attack and an action against a program. I forgot to roll the attack. We're going to get better at this, guys. Which just means I need to read this more often. When a sidebar. If you struggle with something and make mistakes, that's not a problem. But then go back and read it. Read it again. Follow up. All right. Our Zap. That is a 7. Holy buckets. 2d10. All right. Yeesh. I feel like this is bad. We get to pick. Worm is gone. He's gonna roll another attack. Let's do this. We're gonna do another Zap check. 5 and 4 is 9. We're losing Sia. 5 and 4 is 9. 7 and 2 is 9. All right. We beat and destroy. Well, no, we still, because we need a, what is it, a D6? Yeah. So, GD Obsidian, my man. You let the ASP take all your programs for what? Now, unfortunately, that is the end of that. At least that round. We need a new round. So, to finish this round, if we will, we have to do another check on the dice pool. 2d6. We're still good. The programs are gone. And we get to the next floor, which is the file. ID file. Which is a, if I recall, that's a DV6. So his interface, 8 and 4, yeah. He finds the file. It's the top backup data it's a backup of the top data, official data for Kimen Gumi security members. It doesn't make a lot of sense to Obsidian, but he still makes a copy of it and safely jacks out. And with that, we do our 2 rolls here. We're still fine. So at the end of the thing, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, guys. That's ended up being 7 checks. I was a bit off on my thing, but I think there's breadth for that. I intended there to be 5 checks, and complications got in the way, and we just kind of continued to complicate things. There was a big cost to Obsidian's programming. He lost all his programs to the Aspen side. And now they all decide to leave. We got the data. Great. Let's go. They need to leave. They watch for the traps as they go along, and they exit. Guns at the ready. We do need to roll our 2d6 for the countdown timer. And we're fine. They escape. Now, in these beats, I've kind of made the assumption that complications that were inherent in here were a part of the thing. We're dealing with actually one big complication, so I haven't rolled for complications in this. I think we're good. This doesn't strike me, again, there was a lot of pieces to this. It doesn't seem like it would be that complicated of a job, and the complications were already kind of given thanks to the actions of our motley crew. Final mentions as they head back. You know what would be really great right now? If we had a flippin' vehicle, and driver is like, shut up. And they get back to Willie Mays, their fixer. And within this beat, I think if the party, the edge runners want a little bit more than that 500 EB, they're going to have to do a social game for it. And by social game, I just mean social checks. And we're going to decide who's doing what. I think the easy one to suggest is Hound. When Willie Mays obviously says hell no to the more than 500 EB, Hound is going to show her bloody self and use her persuasion and say, I got shot, man. Or some variation of it. She'll elaborate that it was more complicated than they were promised. They were promised no sort of resistance whatsoever. And she's going to phrase this in such a way that she kind of leaves out that she might have been the cause for this. That them scouting the place a little bit earlier than intended and not sneaking around and just being on the outside. She's going to downplay their mistakes in this and use her persuasion to try and convince Willie Mays. Now, I think Driver might be a little too honest to help out. But I think Obsidian will. Final doesn't give a toot. So these two are going to be out. Obsidian's going to help. So he's also going to make a check. Yeah, man. Be cool, choom. This isn't that complicated of a social check. And with Obsidian helping, then I think it might go well. But let's set a difficulty for this. I think it's going to be a heroic attempt. Because our party of edge runners are a bunch of buffoons. Let's put that on the table. Let's get Hound. Hound. Your dice. Okay, cool. Hound and Obsidian. We're going to roll both of theirs. And for things like, if you're wondering what happened to the countdown clock, because they left the scene before any sort of reinforcements could arrive, great. There is a chance that Kimen Gumi will know what happened, and that'll be complications for later if that shows up. But let's do our persuasion checks, because at the scene, at this place, this burger joint, this gross burger joint, which somehow got even more gross within the time that they left and got back. It's just a disgusting poo hole, right? And they get there, they sit down, the seats are sticky. My God. They're like, we want more. We want that 1,000 EB. We want 1,000 Euro bucks. And here's why. I got shot. And there was armed resistance. There was all these complications. Pay no attention to the fact that any of it was our fault. And like, yeah, man, yeah. So we're in luck, folks. First, let's go with Obsidian's persuasion help. He roll a 7 versus his 10, so that's 17. No, actually, we might not be in luck, because I said 21, right? Persuasion, 17, he does not get to help. He does not add his persuasion to it. In fact, a hand has to shut him up. Just like, dude, you need to stop. Here's what I'm doing. And she lays it on thick for herself. She uses her persuasion, which is a 13. And she rolled a 10, bringing it to 23. She didn't need Obsidian. Obsidian is an idiot. She lays it on with aplomb. And she even goes so far as to take her shirt off and just whap! There it is, the gunshot wound. And man, it's kind of, it still needs a little bit of work and rest. She doesn't care. You know what? By doing that, she's making everyone else awkward around her. She disarms Willie Mays, who, let's be real, Willie Mays is kind of a skis, and Hound is, a fairly attractive rocker girl. It's just going to work out for her. They get the 1,000 EB. Success. 1,000 Euro bucks for everyone to share. Yay, we did it. That's where we'll end this. So a couple things. Let's do a post-game wrap-up here before we finish. So we've got 1,000 EB that we're going to give them. And now we have to be a little honest with ourselves. So IP, skill improvement. This is kind of how our characters are going to start leveling up. Now, after each session, the GM awards all players improvement points based on how successful they were at their mission. If it was successful, the players gain improvement points based on their group success. If they didn't finish the mission, they are awarded IP based on their primary or secondary playstyle. There's a lot of this here that is very much in tune with players. You'll even find that they have different playstyles and you award based off of that. Great. That's not kind of what we're doing here, because I'm everybody. If the group does not succeed, the group does not get it. If we have more separate things, we'll go from there. But I think any particular one, even if by themselves, would be a group. Just to kind of abstract that and simplify a little bit for ourselves. Group did not succeed mission, but tried valiantly. That's not true. Group barely accomplished mission goals. No, they accomplish it. Group worked together well, accomplishing most of the mission goals with everyone taking part in the adventure. I have to be honest with us here. I'm not that impressed with how well we did. I'm going to give us 20. I'm going to be a jerk and give us 20 because we barely accomplished this thing. We screwed up so bad. And I'll add that to their sheets after the recording. But what did we learn? What did we learn today, folks? We learned I need to check out the net running rules a little bit more specifically because there's the single player mode assumes I am well versed in net running. And my mistake this time around was not being aware of what I needed to do for that. But I wouldn't have known if I hadn't tried. So going forward, I'm going to probably have a few more net running things because that is our main fixer. Obsidian kind of is the lifeblood finding the jobs at the moment, and we'll figure that out. But also, we have to decide, and I'll decide by next time, if Hound joins them. Hound is still wounded. She's been stabilized, but she needs to rest. And she'll get back a body of 4 every day that she rests. So if she's at 28 hit points and she needs to gain 4 every day of rest, she's going to be out of the picture for a little bit, I think. She might not be in our next adventure, but we'll see. Anyways, guys, this was real fun. I am so pleased at what I learned this time. I hope you enjoy this one. And if you like what this is and where the story is going and the machinations of this and mechanics, like, subscribe, and all that. And I'll see you guys next time. Be cool, my chooms!